Hello everyone, my name is Quackney, and boy, it's been a while. My last video was at the beginning of May, and my last live stream was mid-June when I finished getting footage for this run. This video has been quite the project. It took me over 100 hours of gameplay over a month to finish, and considerably longer to cut through and edit those 100 hours. Now, I'm tasked with drafting a script for a video that is, at the time of writing, just over an hour and a half, and then I have to do the voiceover and any finishing touches for those tasty memes. A tremendous amount of effort and time went into this video, but I think it was warranted because this video is special. This video celebrates us hitting 1,000 subscribers on the channel. We're actually at almost 1,400 now, so I'm admittedly a little late to the party. So, let me start by saying thank you to anyone who has watched any of my videos, commented, liked, or subscribed to the channel. I started doing these just for fun, but it's cool to see a small little community forming around them. So again, thanks a lot. So now let's talk about the video. Can you beat Skyrim while picking up everything? This challenge comes from our Discord user Frosted Mini Uwooties that says specifically to pick up everything I see not glued to the ground. So let's get the rules established. I must pick up any loose or placed items I see. Now, what I mean by this is only items that are movable objects in the game world apply here. So I don't need to collect harvestables like plants or loot containers like chests, and technically bodies are considered containers, so I don't have to loot those either. However, I pretty much just loot everything for most of the run anyway. I just don't have to loot those things. And the reason I won't be looting harvestables is because the run would basically never end if I did. I would run into a field to loot a flower, and then I'd have to run off to loot 15 more flowers that I saw, and so on and so on. I basically wouldn't be able to do anything but pick flowers. Also, I only have to loot respawning items once. I must play through the main storyline, major quest lines of the base game, as well as the DLCs, which, fun fact, will actually be the first time I ever play through the DLCs. After completing the game and the DLCs, I must travel to the throat of the world and drop all of my items. Some additional information: I will be playing on the Adept difficulty on the PC version of Skyrim Anniversary Edition with all DLCs and no mods. With the rules established, let's get on with the run. Like always, in Skyrim, we start off as a prisoner, arrested for unspecified reasons, and are said to be executed with some Stormcloak soldiers. I choose Khajiit for my race because it's my favorite, and there are no rules restricting the run, so I'm just gonna have fun as a kitty cat this time, and I gave myself a name that would strike fear into my enemies' hearts. Pee-pee poo-poo. Alduin shows up just in time to stop my head from getting cut off. Thanks, buddy. And once I get to my feet, I run up the nearby tower and bathe in the fresh dragon's breath, which mysteriously does no damage to me. I waste no time, I just keep running and learn that Alduin, like an elephant to a mouse, fears me and flies away as I approach, despite me being completely unarmed. When given the choice between the Stormcloaks and the Imperials, I decide to go with the slightly less racist faction. Once inside, Hadvar cuts my binds, and I get to looting the room of anything that I can find. Later on, I come face to face with a couple of racists, and I give them the old 1-2 snap your neck with a chokeslam. I also take all their belongings for good measure. Down further in the kitchen, I open up a can of whoop-ass, loot a bunch of baskets, and clear out the dungeon. When I reach the cave bear with Hadvar, I decide to get a little funky with some good old-fashioned Skyrim cheese. I equip my daggers and get to stabbing Hadvar in the back repeatedly for the next 10 or so minutes until I get my sneak to level 100. And then I kill Smokey the bear. I'm already over-encumbered at this point, so I decided to dump most of my level up into health, since raising stamina only gives you 5 carry weight, so that seems like a losing battle. I also try using the stealth roll skill on the sneak tree to move around faster, but unfortunately, since I can't sprint, I can't actually use it, so I just reload my game and respec. I fight some wolves on my way to Riverwood, and while fighting them, I discover that I can power attack to move quicker than walking, and then just wait 1 hour to get my stamina back. And then, when I arrive at Riverwood, I go around looting everything I can find before speaking to Hadvar's family, and then robbing them blind. I go get the Bleak Falls Barrow quest and decide not to loot the items inside the Riverwood Trader just yet because I can actually take most of them for free after doing the quest. I also sold some items to get some gold and to lighten a load on my back for now. And then it's off to Whiterun to buy a horse so that I can get around at decent speeds once I inevitably get over encumbered again. My horse and I infiltrate the barrows easily enough. I kill the giant spider, cut down Arrow the Slow, penetrate this keyhole, and get the Dragonstone. Nothing you haven't seen before. After making it back to my horse, I also realize I can fast travel on my horse even when I'm over encumbered. So that's neat. I return to the Riverwood Trader, give him the claw, and proceed to take everything in his home, and do a bit more trading. After that, I return to Whiterun, do some thieving in the middle of the night, and pay a visit to the Jarl. And while he's talking, I start to loot everything in his castle. I also learn how much it sucks to loot a bunch of books at once. I talk to Farengar about the Dragonstone, and then head out to defend against the oncoming dragon attack. As always, the first dragon fight is beyond easy, and I get this cool kill animation where I chop at the air and it somehow kills the dragon, just as Todd Howard intended. I absorb the overgrown lizard soul and learn that I am the Dragonborn, and then return to Jarl Bolgrif with this information, who tells me to go see the Greybeards. Instead, I decide to work on some crafting skills to get some better gear, so I hop in a carriage and ride to Morath. Oh. Turns out you can't ride a carriage if you're over-encumbered, but you can ride a horse. Just as Todd Howard intended. So, I set a waypoint for Mirrorwatch and hop on my horse to head there. If you're familiar with Mirrorwatch, you probably know exactly why I'm going here, to level up my alchemy skill with little to no effort. I also fought a blood dragon on the way there. And I broke my horse's legs. And I found another dragon right after that. I'm getting a sense of deja vu. Getting into the tower is easy enough. Just grab the journal and activate the seal with some magic to open it up. Inside is one of the best free homes you can get at basically the start of the game. I spend a moment looting everything, and then I plant these ingredients so I can sleep for 3 days and farm a whole bunch of them to make into potions. It takes some time, but eventually I just craft these 3 ingredients together to create the most expensive potion I can. XP in Skyrim, for most of the crafting skills, is calculated by the value of the item created, so it's not about how good the potion actually is, it's just how much I could sell it for. So I do this loop until I reach level 100 in alchemy. And then I head over to Dawnstar to sell these potions I just made to the Khajiit caravan to level up my speech skill. Again, it's just about the value of the item here, not whether or not I actually make any money, so I just sell them all regardless of whether or not they have any money to pay for it. And then I just get them back by looting the caravan's chest hidden in the rocks and selling them back to them over and over until I reach speed 100. Also, there's a dragon attack. A couple, actually. I grab some perks from the speech skill tree and then head to Farengar in Dragonreach to invest in his shop and buy some soul gems to level up my enchanting. The loop here is pretty simple. I buy all the filled soul gems I can, and then I sell potions until I get all of Farengar's money. Then I quick save, hit Farengar to make him hostile, and then quick load. This results in his inventory being reset, and I can buy more soul gems and sell more potions. I do this until I sell all of my potions. At the end of it all, I end up with about 100,000 gold and more soul gems that I could ever need. Next, I work on smithing. First, I smith a bunch of iron daggers and hide bracers until I can learn to make dwarven gear. In order to smith said dwarven gear, I need dwarven metal. Dragon attack. Dragon attack 2, electric boogaloo. Finally, I arrive at Markhearth, I stab a man, and then I talk to Calcelmo. I accept his quest to gain access to the dwarven ruins nearby. I find some dwarven metal, kill a spider, find some dead guys, and then I return to Calcelmo and tell him about my adventures, and he gives me access to the ruins that I came here for. I'll spare you the details as I'm having to literally crawl through these ruins, but I kill some Valmer, and I loot some garbage, and some sweet rare dwarven metals. I apparently lost the footage of me making a bunch of dwarven bows, but here's me reaching smithing 100 with some ebony gear. And now it's time to level enchanting. I just use the soul gems I got from Farengar to enchant iron daggers with the banishment enchantment until I'm level 100. Again, it's just about value here. Doesn't matter how good the weapon is. Now it's time to make some gear to get me through the rest of the game, but I don't have any skill points for the enchanting tree, so I decided to just farm a couple of skills to get some easy level ups. And that starts with murdering a guard and using some enchanted gear to cast Soul Trap on his corpse at no mana cost until my conjuration is at level 100. This is how annoying it is to scroll through my inventory, by the way. I'm using both the D-pad and the analog stick, so it's actually scrolling twice as fast as it's supposed to. God help me. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going. Are you watching? Fuck. I enchant some more gear and pick a fight in Dragon's Reach with the guards. I use Stone Skin for alteration and Fast Healing for restoration. At the same time, my armor skills are increased by getting the craft smacked out of me. Strangely enough, Lydia is apparently more loyal to me than she is the city, and despite not being my follower at the moment, she fights everyone in the throne room and even kills a couple guards while she's at it. And Farengar at some point. Poor guy. Eventually, I get bored of this. The XP was not nearly as good as I thought it would be, so I sheathe my hands and I tell the guards to forgive me because I'm the Thane. Instead, I move on to Illusion Magic and Span Muffle. I then get the idea to go to the Mages College. I don't really remember why, to be honest, but that's where I go. I kind of noticed while going through this footage, at times it doesn't really seem like I'm doing the challenge run. Like, I just forget about it, and I'm playing Skyrim. I'm just playing Skyrim, doing random things. I don't know. Anyway, I do a bit of the Mages College, and luckily I get past Tolfdir's Ward class without the game bugging out like it tends to do. And while looting everything inside, I ended up entering the library and spent like 30 minutes picking up just the books. I really wish there was a way to do this faster. This challenge has made me hate books in this game. Never again. Anyway, eventually I get back on track and start to make my gear. First, I start with some simple fortify enchantment potions. Don't worry about that. That's nothing. Don't worry about that. I craft a set of dragon armor and some dragon weapons with some enchanted smithing gear and potions. And then I start enchanting my gear, starting with my boots with fortified carry weight. Now, before you get all up in arms saying,
"But Quackney, using the restoration glitch to get infinite carry weight negates the whole point of the challenge run."
no, it doesn't. This is a pick up everything challenge, okay? Not a beat the game over encumbered challenge. That's a different video, okay? Besides, I only want to torture myself so much for your entertainment. Also, I only use the restoration glitch on carry weight. All my other gear was made without it. But now that I can finally run again, it's finally time to play the game. Alright, horse, you've served me well. I'll be honest, next time you die, I'm not reloading my save, baby. Oh no, I just killed my horse. Well, you know, I just fucking said I wasn't gonna reload if you died, horse. And I'm a man of my... I was shooting at a dude and it walked in front of me. Yeah. Let's move on to the main story. Next up is meeting the Greybeards and learning some more words of power. After which, they send me to go collect the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. I fight through some Draugr in the ruins and find not the horn, but a note from the person who took it asking me to meet. So, back to Riverwood to meet this person, and we find that it's Delphine. She tells me she's a member of the Blades and invites me to a dragon burial site to investigate the return of dragons. And when I get to that dragon burial site with Delphine, I find that Alduin has resurrected another dragon from it, so I kill it. Delphine wants me to meet her at Riverwood again, but I just wanted the words of power for this part of the main story, so now I'm going to work on all the side quests, starting with the Thieves Guild. I fight a couple dragons on my way to Riften. What is that? Hello? Hello? What are you doing? Where are you going? But once I reach Riften, I speak to Brynjolf to begin the questline. he causes a distraction in the market, which I use to steal Medesi's ring and then plant that ring on Brandon Shy. Because why not? Happy with my results, Brynjolf then invites me into the Ratways to prove myself further to join the Thieves Guild. I make my way there with zero trouble, and he gives me my next task, beating some money out of a couple people around town. After proving myself, now I need to teach a lesson to Arengoth by burning his bees and clearing out his safe. So it's off to Golden Glow Estate. I pick the lock on the door, steal everything I see, ransack a safe, find a bill of sale, and then a dragon attacks, blowing my cover. So I give up on the stealth approach, burn the bees, and kill the dragon. Brynjolf then sends me to Maven Blackbriar for a job. She wants me to shut down the hunting brew meadery so she doesn't have to deal with the competition. So I go to the meadery outside Whiterun, and my textures won't load, and I can't use the door. After a quick relaunch, the game seems to be working just fine, and then I go inside. I talk to Sabjorn, the owner, and he seems stressed out about a visit from Commander Caius. Out of the goodness of my heart, I offer to help him with his skeever problem. I go into the basement and travel into an underground tunnel and punch a bunch of rats to death before finding a disgruntled ex-employee and promptly cut his head off. I also found some note he left behind, but I can't read, so who cares? I then poison the skeever's nest, ensuring they will return, and I put some special sauce in the mead. While Sabjorn is entertaining the commander, I sneak around and steal everything in the meadery. When Commander Caius tastes my special sauce, he's unpleased to say the least, and promptly arrests Sabjorn. Malice here takes over the meadery now that Sabjorn is out of the picture, and gives me access to his office to find some documents. It's here that I find a note, but again, I can't read, so I can't tell you why it's important. I then return to Maven Blackbriar and give her the information she wanted. She then sends me back to the Thieves Guild to find out who a name on the paper that I couldn't read could be referring to. Turns out, it's a guy named Gollum Eye. So I go and meet the lizard man myself to see if he would explain. He doesn't feel like talking, so he gets up to leave, and I have to quickly steal everything before I can follow after him. Eventually, he leads me to a secret cove where I steal a bunch of stuff, shoot a guy, and confront him. And he gives me the name Carlia, who apparently killed the previous guildmaster. I return to Mercer, the current guildmaster, and he decides I should join him in going after Carlia. So, off to some ruins in the snow, and Mercer finds her horse parked outside, and kills it. Poor thing. Anyway, we head inside and I kill some Draugr, and then I get hit by a poison arrow and fall to the ground paralyzed. While paralyzed, I overhear Mercer and Carlia talking and learn that Mercer killed the previous guild leader and framed Carlia for it. Carlia escapes, and Mercer leaves me to die from the poison. I survive the poison and wake up outside, saved by Carlia. She explains that she needs my help getting revenge for Gallus, the previous guildmaster, but she needs help getting his journal translated from ancient Falmer. So it's off to the College of Winterhold to talk to Enthyr to get some help. Unfortunately, he needs some information to fully translate the journal, so he sends me to Calcimo to get more information. And fortunately, because I did the quest for him earlier, he's willing to help me and gives me access to his laboratory. So I head into the museum and steal everything in sight and kill a couple pesky guards who are in my way for these locked cabinets. Eventually, I find Calcimo's stone and make an impression of it and aid translating the journal. I return to Enthyr and Carlia, and we learn that Gallus was suspicious of Mercer for a while before he was killed by him. I also learn that Mercer, Gallus, and Carlia are members of the Nightingales, a secret society of the Thieves Guild sworn to protect the Twilight Sepulchre, the Temple of Nocturne. Armed with this information, we run back to the guild to tell them of Mercer's betrayal using Gallus's journal. But we were too late as we learned that Mercer emptied the guild stash and ran off on his own. So, we infiltrate his home and find a note, but again, I can't read. Luckily, Brynjolf can read, and he learns that Mercer is after something called the Eyes of the Falmer. Determined to stop him, Carlia tells Brynjolf and I to meet her at a secret location. Oh shit, dragons? In my Skyrim? Can't have that. Nope. Can't have that. Arriving at the locale, we're told that this place is the headquarters of the Nightingales. It's here that Mercer and I undergo a ritual and pledge ourselves to Nocturnal to take down Mercer and become Nightingales. On my way there, I fight another dragon and Croesus, the Dragon Priest. Hot on Mercer's tail, eventually I arrive at this place. Then I fight through some Falmer. Like, a lot of them. Then I finally confront Mercer. I take him in a one-on-one because somehow he casts some magic on my friends to make them fight each other, and I absolutely body him. With the Eye of the Falmer and the skeleton key recovered, I can now use the key to regain access to the Twilight Sepulchre's inner sanctum. So, it's back to the Sepulchre, where I talk to the ghost of Gallus. I fight some other ghosts, stare at this key, put the skeleton key in this hole, and then beat Nocturnal. And just like that, the Thieves Guild is completed. You may have noticed a lack of thieving and sneaking beyond the first couple of quests, and you would be right. In fact, in a grand total of 0 of the Thieves Guild quests are you actually required to be stealthy. Moving on now, I start the Dark Brotherhood questline by going to see Aventus. He wants me to kill Greylaw the Kind, an old woman running an orphanage. Sounds like a hoot, so I take the job. I arrive at the orphanage and start by taking all the children's food, before murdering Greylaw in front of the children, who then begin to chant with glee at her death. I return to Aventus to tell him the job is done, and while I wait for the next quest to begin, I go to the companions and start their questline by talking to Kodlak, who sends me outside with Vilcus to test my strength.
You don't belong here. What do you think you have to offer?
What the fuck did you say?
You died in 2 hits. During our sparring match, I hit Vilcus once with my dagger on his shield, and he calls off the fight. A courier arrives, and I get the letter to start the next Brotherhood quest, so I leave the companions behind for now. I'm feeling a little sleepy, so I go get a room in the nearby inn. Anyway, now that my nose isn't in Hulda's ass, I wake up feeling rested in another location with a woman named Astrid saying she's impressed that I killed a defenseless old woman. She then gives me a task, find which one of these 3 bound persons is worth killing. I am big-brained, so I use the clairvoyant spell, which points me to the one on the right, so I stab him. Astrid likes murdering people almost as much as me and gives me the key to get out of the shack and tells me to find the Brotherhood Sanctuary if I want to do some more killing. Speaking of killing, I killed the dragon. I go to the location Astrid led me to, and I find a very friendly-looking door. I immediately start stealing stuff, and then Astrid tells me to speak to Nazir, who tells me to go kill some people. Say less. Like this lady, this homeless man, and this guy. I return to Nazir for my payment, and then go to Astrid for my next assignment, given to us by the apothecary's assistant in Markarth. She wants me to kill Elaine Dufont. Say no more. I kill this lady, but honestly, I actually don't really remember why I was supposed to, but it's fine, because I stuck around, I met the Ebony Warrior. Also something I've never done. And then I go kill Elaine. I collect my payment, and then I go fight the Ebony Warrior. Again, I've never actually done this before, so I decided not to use any healing so that there might be some form of challenge. He actually killed me a couple times. It was a good fight. After returning to Astrid, she tells me that Cicero is going crazy talking to himself, and she asks me to eavesdrop on him. So I crawl inside the Night Mother's coffin. Ew. I don't know why this was the option. I couldn't, like, hide behind a desk or something. Anyway, the creepy dead bitch starts talking to me, which apparently makes me the listener, and this makes Cicero jealous as he thought he was the listener. Anyway, I tell Astrid that the Night Mother told me to speak to Amon Montier. Astrid doesn't know who that is, and she says that she's still in charge despite the fact that I'm the listener. So she instead has me go get some more work from Nazir. And what's he want me to do? Kill some vampires and steal their stuff. When that's over, I return to Astrid and she tells me she found Amon, so I head there. But first, I kill another dragon, and it doesn't give me its soul. Stingy bastard. Anyway, I meet the man and he tells me he wants me to assassinate the Emperor. And he gives me an amulet to pawn off to fund the job. I return to Astrid, but she's a bit sussed about it all, so she tells me to go fence the amulet while she works things over. Which means I take a quick trip over to the Thieves Guild to sell the amulet and then return back to Astrid. While she finishes preparations for the assassination, I'm to attend a wedding and kill the bride. So I get up on this perch and I shoot her. And if you're wondering how strong I am at this point, very. My next job is to get rid of the Emperor's security, so I'm gonna kill Commander Morrow's son so that he doesn't do his job very well, because you know, he'll be sad. While tracking down his son, I fight another dragon. And when that's done, I put a hole in his face. Unfortunately, on my return to the Brotherhood, I learned that Cicero went crazy and started slicing people up, so Astrid asked me to track him down. So I raid his room and I find a journal that points me in the right direction, the Dawnstar Sanctuary. And to get me there, Astrid gives me Shadowmare, a spooky horse guy. When I get there, our Bjorn is outside, dying to his wounds. Sucks for you. I head inside and I quickly find Cicero. He asks me to let him live and explains that Astrid is not following the Night Mother as she ought to, which I'm inclined to believe, seeing as how I'm the listener, and she basically decided she wanted to still be in charge anyway. So I leave him alone and head back to Astrid, telling her he's dead. After lying to Astrid, we move on to our plans to kill and impersonate the Gourmet, a secret chef known throughout Skyrim that is soon to make a special dinner for the Emperor. Festus here is able to track down someone that might know the Gourmet, so I head to Markarth to meet them. When I get there, I threaten the man to learn that the Gourmet is an orc named Balagog. After that, I kill him and steal all his stuff. Yet another dragon fights me on my way there. I find the Gourmet, I kill him, and then I hide his body. Then I return to Festus to tell him that the job is done. Astrid then tells me the next steps to impersonate the Gourmet and poison the Emperor. So I head into the kitchen, steal everything there, and lie through my teeth about how to cook this special meal. Then I escort our unknowing accomplice to serve our delicious meal to the Emperor. The Emperor gets his food, and as I'm stealing everything in the room, he starts to get a tummy ache, so I make a run for it. During my escape, Commander Morrow cuts me off and ambushes me. He then reveals to me that someone in my organization betrayed me to guarantee their own safety, but he's just gonna kill everyone in the sanctuary after he's finished with me anyway. These guards stand no chance against me, so I'll just cut to me saving everyone in the sanctuary. Nearly everyone dies, but I do find Azir and tell him that we've been betrayed. He runs off to save himself and find the others, but I get the idea to just get inside Night Mother's sarcophagus to hide from the flames. While Mommy and I cuddle, she tells me to go speak with Astrid. After our night alone by the fire, I do as Night Mommy asks, and I go find Astrid, who somehow survived the fire long enough for her to confess that she's the traitor amongst us. Surprise, surprise. She says she's very sorry about being a bitch, and gives me the Dagger of Woe, and tells me to put her out of her misery. Afterwards, I go talk to Night Mommy, and she tells me that a contract is a contract, we must still assassinate the Emperor. So, I go talk to Amand in Whiterun to find out the Emperor's true location. Yo, this guy got wrecked. I speak to Amand, and he tells me that the Emperor is on his ship offshore of Solitude, and that I should hurry if I'm to catch him. So, I climb up the anchor, steal all this stuff, and finally come face to face with the man himself. He accepts his fate rather well, and doesn't put up any kind of fight. He asks only that I kill the person who ordered his assassination. After he's dead, I loot his room. By the way, this is how long it takes me to loot containers at this point. Anytime I open a chest, loot a body, open my inventory, or if any NPC gives me something, I get this delay. And it's only getting worse over time. I ended up renaming all my equipment to something that starts with a 1, just so that it's sorted to the top of the inventory, and I didn't have to scroll through anything anymore. I return to Amand, and he tells me where to get my money, and then I kill him. I also make sure to go get my money. 20k is actually not a lot for killing the Emperor, gotta say. Cheap bastard. After all is said and done, I returned to Nazir and told him the Emperor is dead. And then a Dawnstar guard finds his way into the sanctuary after we relocated, saying I did some crime or something. Anyway. Oh, also, Cicero returns, and he offers to be my follower, but I tell him he smells and go off on my own. I also, just for fun, head to Delphin in the Thieves Guild and buy all the upgrades for the Dawnstar Sanctuary. Not like I need the money anyway. And now the Dark Brotherhood's finished, so I continue with the companions by bringing Vilkas' sword to Eorlund. And while he works on that, he asks me to return Alia's shield for him, which I do. At this point, Farkas is supposed to show me around, but there were problems. This starts a saga of me hating Farkas. So, for whatever reason, Farkas is mad at me for something and runs at me with his weapon drawn like he wants to fight. But when he gets to me, he forces me to speak to him and then has nothing to say about it. He doesn't say anything about why he's mad at me. It's just this conversation as normal. He even goes so far as to pulling me out of dialogues with other NPCs. So, to get past this for now, I just sneak behind him. Can't get mad at me if you don't know I'm there. Eventually, I am able to progress the storyline, but not without getting a little frustrated. Farkas, dude, leave me the fuck alone, man. Stop chasing me around trying to talk to me, dude. You got nothing to say. So I go do some tasks for the companions by killing some vampires. And when I return, Farkas is there to greet me. I haven't even finished loading in, dude. Leave me alone. Stop. Evidently, Score wants to speak to me, and he tells me he wants to gather another fragment of Wuthrad, some old axe that killed a bunch of elves that the companions like a lot. Almost as much as they like killing elves, probably. And of course, he wants Farkas to join me on this mission. Yay. I try doing some thieving on my way out, but Farkas keeps interrupting me. Because now, Farkas is set as my follower for this quest, so there's no getting away from him. If he gets within a certain radius of me, he forces me to turn and talk to him, no matter what I might be doing at that time. Eventually, I get so frustrated with him, I just start knocking him down and running away from him, just so he would stop talking to me. Even during combat, Farkas doesn't want to fight Draugr. He wants to talk to me, so I have to continue with my strategy of knocking him down in between Draugrs and running away. I was a little worried here that Farkas would bug out during this scene where he turns into a werewolf and kills these Silverhands, since he didn't seem to want to fight before, but he did it and he sets me free. So I continue on, smacking down Farkas to stop him from yapping and killing everything else that I came across.
I'm about to console command your ass out of existence. Leave me the fuck alone.
I will admit I made some threats against Farkas, but you have to understand, he was interrupting me like every 10 or so seconds. I really just genuinely cannot express how frustrating this was. I looked it up. I looked up the console commands. I was this close. I was gonna do it. At some point, Farkas gets some fire under his feet and actually tries to fight some things before immediately going back to yapping.
Hey now, you be careful with that fire. Some people don't think I'm smart.
I don't think you're smart either, Farkas. I'm one of those fucking people.
I'm here to help.
Shut the fuck up, Farkas.
Eventually, I get the fragments and a new word of power. When I go to leave, however, I find I can no longer fast travel. The game tells me that I am being pursued by guards? What? It's at this point I go to look at my stats and find that I actually have some bounties to my name. And after some Googling, I find out that Farkas is technically considered a guard of the Reach. So that appears to be what's happening here. So I go and return the pieces of Wuthrad to the companions, and then go around Skyrim, getting rid of my bounties. He won't leave me alone. I'm not even in, like, go away, man. Go away, dude. Leave me alone. To fix this problem involves me turning myself in, and then breaking out of prison, and then stealing all my stuff back, making sure that I got all my stolen goods as well.
The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
But eventually, I was able to get rid of all my finds and return to the companions without being harassed by Farkas. So it's off to the next companions quest, where I kill some Silverhand members and get my hands on a book containing all their plans. Also, Score died. Oh well. Ayla's happy with our progress on my return, and Karlak has me sit down for a little talk a while later. He tells me he wants to find a cure for lycanthropy because he wants to go to Sovngarde when he dies, but those cursed with lycanthropy are forbidden from doing so. In order to do so, he needs one of the heads of the Glenmore witches. So, I tell him I'll go kill all of them. When I return, somehow the Silver Hand was able to just walk up to Kodlak and kill the man and take his clothes while they were at it. They also stole the fragments of Wuthrad while they were here. Vilkus then says that he and I are going to bring the fight to them and get our revenge. So we assault their camp and wipe them out with no issues whatsoever and recover the fragments of Wuthrad. After all is said and done, I attend Kodlak's funeral because I have to, even they are all showed up. When the ceremony is over, Erland asked me to retrieve the last pieces of Wuthrad from Kodlak's room. So I go grab it and steal everything else in his room since he won't be needing it. I give him all the pieces, and then he tells me to meet all my shield brothers and sisters in the Underforge. It's here they discuss that Kodlak was not able to get his final wish of curing his lycanthropy. So we decide to go to the tomb of Ysgramor to see if we can't find his eternally damned soul and get him out of there. And then Erland shows up having reforged Wuthrad. He gives it to me to help in our mission. We go to the tomb and fight some old ghosts before meeting Kodlak in the ectoplasm. We throw one of the witch heads into the fire, which summons the wolf spirit of Kodlak. So I chop that son of a bitch up and free his soul so that he can go to Sovngarde, thus completing the companion storyline. Right after that, I go ahead and kill my own wolf spirit and cure myself of lycanthropy. Oh yeah, I became a werewolf, as one does. But being one kind of sucks though, so I'm getting rid of it. Now it's time for the Mages College, and man, this one sucks for real. This quest line is dog water. I think throughout the whole storyline, you only need to cast a spell like 4 times or something like that. It's really just not a good one. Todd Howard was not cooking with this one, I can tell you that. Anyway, I pick up some garbage for Tolfdir and get myself locked in a room while I'm at it. I use a spell on this door and it blows up, eventually leading me out. And then time stops, and this guy shows up telling me that things are in motion that cannot be stopped and I have a role to play in it, whatever that means. And when I ask Tolfdir, he has no idea what I'm talking about. But we continue on, and we find this giant magic ball, so that's cool. Having no idea what it is, Tolfdir asked me to go inform the Archmage about our findings. So I go see Savos, and he tells me to go to the Arcanium and speak to Urag about the big balls. I also steal all his stuff. Then I head to Urag and ask him if any of his books have anything on this big ball. He tells me he does, or did rather, but someone has the books and hasn't returned them. So I decide to go pay them a visit and fight a dragon on the way. This one also doesn't give me a soul. Eventually, I find Orothorn, and he tells me that someone he calls the Caller took the books from him. So I find her, and instead of listening to her talk, I just shoot her with a bow and get things over with, and then take the books. Then I return to Urag with the books, and he tells me that he will go over them and inform Mirabelle if he finds anything relevant. When I return to Tolfdir, they had moved the big ball into the college for more study. That's when Enkano shows up and insists that he speaks to me privately. When he does, I basically just end the conversation without saying anything and just walk away. And that's when a dragon attacked the college. What a complete idiot. Not only am I here, but the strongest mages in Skyrim are here. I go speak to Archmage Savos, and this time a guy named Quaramir shows up. He tells me that the Eye of the Magnus, the big ball, is kind of bad news. He tells me the Psijic Order, his group of special wizards, are having a hard time contacting me because of this big ball's energy. But he's not supposed to interfere anyway, so he says, but tells me to go seek out the Augur of the Dunlane in the college. Tolfdir tells me that the Augur should still be in the midden, so I go find him, and it turns out it's just a big light in a well, not a person per se. The big ball of light basically tells me that if I want to avoid disaster, I need to find the Staff of the Magnus to not go blind by the eye. So I go ask Savos where it is. He doesn't know, so he sends me to ask Mirabelle, and she tells me that last she heard that maybe it was in the rooms of Mizild, this place. When I get to these ruins, this guy dies. Oh well. I fight this Valmer and then find Peritus. I tell him his friend is dead, and he is sad because he had some crystal he needs. Thankfully, I looted his body, so I give to him. He starts to tell me about his work, but I ignore him and loot everything around. Then I have to solve this puzzle. It's pretty easy, and it's the second time that you have to cast a spell in the Mage College's questline. Peritus turns out to be very suspicious of me and says he's going to report me or something. Anyway, he reads this map that gets projected on the wall, and I learn I need to go to the Labyrinthian. Snitches get stitches, bitch. When I leave the ruins, Nerian appears again and tells me I need to return to the college. And it turns out that Enkano has warped himself into the college to mess around with the Eye of the Magnus. I use a spell for the third time, and together we busted the wards and gain entry to the college. Savos confronts Arcano, and then everything goes boom. When I wake up, Mirabelle is injured but alive, and Savos is dead outside somehow. And then the college gets attacked by these weird magic anomalies, so I go smash them. When I return to Mirabelle, she tells me that I must get the Staff of the Magnus if we have any hope of stopping Arcano. So I head to some ruins. I see some ghosts talking about something, but I don't stick around and listen because ghosts are spooky. I fight a skeleton dragon, some Draugr, hear more about ghosts, fight some ghost Draugr, and kill a dead guy named Morokai. It's off his corpse I get the Staff of the Magnus. You can also see how long the delay is getting at this point. When I leave, a guy named Estormo comes to stop me. He tells me that he's an incredibly powerful wizard sent here to stop. Anyway, I get back to the college and Mirabelle is dead. Oh well. I use the staff to get back into the college and zap the big blue ball until Arcano is vulnerable again, and then I kill him. And just like that, we become the Archmage of the college by casting like 3 spells and getting this useless staff. Worst quest line in the game, without question. Would not recommend. Now it's time to start the Civil War quest, the second worst quest line in the game. I decide to side with the Imperial Legion this run because they're slightly less racist than the Stormcloaks. Anyway, I go to General Tullius and I enlist in the army.
For the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part.
And then I kill another dragon. I'll be real with you guys. If you've done this quest line before, you already know this, but this quest line is basically the same quest over and over. Go to this castle, kill the bad guys, go talk to somebody about it, go to the next one, kill the bad guys, so on and so on. So I'm just going to skip to the end, where I kill Ulfric and be done with it. The only good thing about this storyline is that there's lots of fighting with lots of dudes at once. It's pretty cool the first time, but after that, it's just kind of boring. Now that all the major quest lines are finished, I can move on to finishing the main story and picking up where we left off. Delphine wants me to infiltrate the Thalmor embassy by entering a dinner party in disguise. So I go talk to her friend Malborn and give him a couple things I need to smuggle into the party, my boots being my main concern. Then it's back to Delphine to get my invitation for the party, and we're off to go play guest. When I get there, I introduce myself to Elenwen, steal all the food, and convince this guy to be a drunk distraction, at which point I sneak into the back with Malborn, steal everything from the kitchen, and get my things. And then I immediately lose interest in being sneaky and just start hacking and slashing my way through the Thalmor, until I eventually get what I came here for, the Thalmor's dossier. Then I do some hardcore parkour, stab a guy, steal his keys, and escape to a tunnel, where I immediately get attacked by a dragon. After killing the overgrown lizard, I return to Delphine and tell her the embassy is looking for a guy named Esbern. Luckily, Delphine knows Esbern and tells me where I can go find him. I get to him just before the Thalmor do, and I'm able to convince him to come out and film me back to Delphine. It's here we discuss our next steps in defeating Alduin, and we decide to go to Skyhaven Temple. And I kill a dragon on the way. I solve this puzzle, if you can really call it that, and then we make our way inside, where I give some blood to the magic floor. Inside, we find a mural that tells us how Alduin was sealed away in the past with a shout, but we need some more information, so I go ask the Greybeards about it. Arengar tells me that I must speak to the leader of the Greybeards if I want to learn that shout, and surprise, their leader's a dragon named Parthenax. He's a chill guy, so I don't immediately murder him, but he does tell me that he can't teach me that word of power because it was made by humans and dragons can't speak it. But he gives me an idea. He tells me I could probably use an Elder Scroll to learn the shout Dragonren from those who created it. But first I gotta find it, so it's back to the Mages College to ask Urag for some guidance, and he gives me some books to read that might help. But I can't read, and one of these books is actually unreadable. So I go find its author, who tells me I need to go to Blackreach. That's right, you heard that. Blackreach, everyone's favorite area of the game. Just look how beautiful this place is. It definitely is an amazing disguise. I'm gonna spend so much time down here. I'm gonna have so much fun. I'm out of there. I got the scroll. I'm gone. Anyway, back at the top of High Hrothgar, and I read the Elder Scroll. It temporarily transports me back in time, and I witness a bunch of old people fight against Alduin and use the Dragonren shout to seal him away. And because my brain is so big, I know how to use it now. When I return to the present, Alduin is waiting for me, so we have our first showdown. Using the Dragon Wrench out, I mollywop him with no problem. But the lizard's not dead, he's just sealed away. Eventually he'll break free as he did at the start of the game, so I need to travel to Sovngarde to kill him again. To do this, I trap a dragon named Odaving and convince him to take me to Alduin's portal to Sovngarde. I fight a bunch of dragons and Draugr and then jump into his shiny hole into the ground. It's then I'm transported to Sovngarde. Then I have to fight Sun to prove I'm worthy of admittance into the Hall of Valor, and once I'm inside, I recruit the old guys who defeated Alduin in the past and have them help me fight him again. Just as easy as any other dragon fight, Alduin gets absolutely smacked and dies again, for good this time. And with that, the main story is finished. Now it's time for the DLC. I started with the Dawnguard DLC because it was the first released, and again, I've never played them, so this will be new to me. At the start of the quest, I meet a guy named Isran that I think I never see again, and a guy named Toland who I also don't think I ever see again. And they want to kill some damned, no good, evil, blood-sucking vampires, and I'm all about it. Death to bloodsuckers. So I'm off to Dim Hollow Crypt to investigate some vampire activity and kill them all. I kill every disgusting undead I come across, and then get my hand impaled on this pillar, which activates a puzzle. After I finish the puzzle, a stone monolith appears, and when I open it, there's this evil vampire inside. Maybe vampires aren't so bad. Perhaps I just judged them too quickly. Anyway, Serana invites me back to her place, and gosh, this is moving so fast, I can't help but say yes. So together, we fight through some gargoyles, and then take a romantic boat ride to her family's castle. Yo, you're not even making contact with that lady. You ain't doing nothing but sucking air. At the castle, I meet Lord Harkin, who's happy to have his daughter return to him. Then he turns into a vampire lord thing and offers me this power as thanks. And I mean, gotta try it, right? It feels so weak at this stage of the game, and I don't benefit from any of my equipment, so I'm over encumbered. It's meh. I think I used it one other time. It's the same as Werewolf. It just doesn't really feel like it scales well enough. Anyway, my first task is to find the Bloodstone Chalice for Lord Harkin. I find the chalice and fill it from the spring, only to be ambushed by two of the vampires who want the credit for finding the chalice for Lord Harkin, so I kill him. When I return, Lord Harkin tells me of our great enemy, the sun. No shit, guy. And now we have a way to fight it. He tells me of a prophecy of a time where vampires gain power over the sun, a prophecy written in Serena's Elder Scroll. After our conversation, Harkin makes a big speech to all the vampires and tells them we will fulfill the prophecy and forge a new realm of eternal darkness.
Are we the baddies?
Next, I'm asked to find a moth priest to read the Elder Scroll. So I go ask my favorite librarian, Urog, to see if he can find one for me. But when I get to one, unfortunately, someone's beaten me to it. I follow a note to a cave with a bunch of Dawnstar members in it, and I get to killing. I slice up some mortals, deactivate a magic barrier, and then I use my vampire powers to mind control the moth priest and make him my thrall, telling him to go back to the castle. It's there, back at the castle, I command him to read the Elder Scroll. The scroll tells of a great bow called Ariel's Bow. That's about it, and the priest is now blind, so that's a him problem. Lord Harkin also found this information to be lackluster, but all we have to do is find the other Elder Scrolls to get the whole picture of what to do. But his traitor's wife took them away. Thankfully, Serena has an idea of where to look for them. And her mom. Right underneath us. Literally. We go to her mom's old garden, and I solve a small puzzle with moons, and it reveals a hidden staircase. Inside, we find a hidden laboratory. Serena's mother used it in secret. It's here. We also find a portal to the Soul Cairn, and we decide to go in. Inside the Soul Cairn, we find a bunch of ghosts. Who would have thought? This place is looking pretty cool, but there doesn't actually seem to be much here, but some bone guys. It's actually just kind of empty, and most of the enemies are just reskinned enemies from the base game. Anyway, eventually we find Serena's mom, and it's here we tell her that Serena's dad kinda sucks, and we're gonna do our own thing for this prophecy instead of killing the sun. But we need the scrolls. Valerica drills me for a little while, but eventually I do gain her trust. She promises to help us get the scrolls, but first we need to break these barriers that she's locked behind. To do so, I need to kill a couple of keepers, and just like the black skeletons, these guys are just reskinned giants, so nothing new here. I also get this spooky horse named Arvak. I actually end up killing the last keeper by just pushing him off his tower, which was pretty cool. When I return to Valerica, she tells me to look out for Dunavir now that the barrier's down. And speaking of, here he is. I kill him, but apparently he'll be back. After getting him out of the way, I find the Elder Scroll of Blood, and we make our way out of the Soul Cairn. On my way out, Dunavir asked me to speak his name within Tamriel so he can answer my call and fly in the real world once again. So I said sure. I don't remember if I actually did that though. Then I return to my thrall to have him read the scroll, but I remember he's blind. So he tells me to perform the ritual of the Ancestor Moth to find the answers I seek. Fuck this guy being all cryptic and shit. But I do it anyway. I find a cave, and I get a bunch of moths to follow me. Then I read the Elder Scroll and learn that Ariel's bow is in a place called the Darkfall Cave. So we head there, and we meet a guy named Gelibor who calls himself a paladin. He immediately knows why I'm here, and he says he'll help me, but he needs me to kill his brother, Virthur. I'm all for violence, so I tell him his brother is as good as dead. Then he uses some elf magic and summons a portal for us called a Way Shrine. He then tells me I need to take an ewer, like a big old pitcher, and take it to the next Way Shrine. So I walk through the portal, kill some Falmer, and then find the next Way Shrine and do the whole ewer thing. Oh look, 2 dragons under the ice. That's kind of cool actually. And then my game crashed. Fortunately, I autosave frequently, so it's not a big deal. Now I arrive at Elsa's castle. Inside, it's cold, and there are frozen people. I also fight a frost giant. But eventually I find Virthur, and I fight through all his frozen minions long enough for him to throw a fit and blow everything up somehow. Serena wakes me up and tells me it's time to finish this. So I walk right up to this guy, man, I just cut him up. Easy peasy. Gelibor then shows up and is happy his brother's dead and gives me the bow. With the bow in hand, Serena and I decide it's time to kill her dad before he tries to kill us. The boss fight with Lord Harkin was pretty easy, but a little annoying with how much he teleports and how he has immunity phases, which are just so fun. I love immunity phases. Great game design. But eventually I kill him, and he vaporizes into dust. With that, the Dawnstar DLC is finished. My personal thoughts? They didn't really add any enemy variety, as I said earlier, but the story was nice and the locales were cool, so 4 shekels out of 7 dimples. And now it's time for the Dragonborn DLC. Off to Morrowind, baby! When I get there, I ask the first person I see where Mirak is. He's got a cult, they've been trying to kill me, and now it's time for the homeboy to die. But he has amnesia. And he doesn't really remember who that is, but tells me to go to the Earthstone. So I go there and talk to this guy, but he also has amnesia. But it's apparently temporary because he remembers that Mirak has been dead for thousands of years. Well, I guess that's it. DLC's over. Thanks for watching. I'm just kidding. He tells me to go check out this ancient run. It's there I meet Freya. She tells me that something is wrong here in Solstheim and that the people are under some kind of mind control, and that her father says Mirak has returned. During that conversation, the ruin opens up and some cultists come out and attack us. And after taking care of them, I head inside the ruins, eventually finding a book. I can't read, but nonetheless, I pick up the book and look inside. Which turns out to have been a bad idea, as tentacles come out of the book and take me to another dimension, but I've seen this hentai before, so I remain calm. Oh hey, it's Mirak. He is alive, I guess. And he knows that I killed Alduin. And he seems kind of impressed, I think? He basically tells me that he's strong as fuck and he's gonna beat me up, and that Solstheim and its people are his, and soon all of Tamriel. Then a bunch of hentai monsters yell at me until I wake back up in Tamriel. When I do, I show Freya what I found, and she tells me we should return to her village and show her father. I arrive at their village and find Freya's father, Storn, channeling a spell to keep them safe from the influences of Mirak. I tell him about what I saw, and he instructs me to go to Seiring's Watch and learn the Word of Power, and then use that word on the Windstone, which could hopefully break Mirak's control. I head there and fight a dragon, then bitch-ass Mirak shows up and steals the dragon soul. Like, come on, man. I know I'm not using them, but like, still. Dick move. He also bugs out here, too. He just kind of stands there. He didn't disappear. I couldn't do any damage to him or even collide with him, and he doesn't say anything. He just kind of stands there.
He's just standing there, menacingly! Get out of there, SpongeBob!
Dragon soul stealing shithead aside, I learn Bend Will and head to the Windstone, shout at it, then a big monster comes out of it, so I kill it. After that, I return to Storn and tell him his people are free from Mirak's control. Now he tells me that I could do the same for the other stones around Solstim, so I do, but I'll skip showing that because the video's too long already. Now, in order to get close to Mirek, I need to learn more about these black books, and Storn tells me of Naloth, a dark elf who might be able to help me with that. So I go find the man inside one of these cute mushroom tree houses, and he's particularly excited to find these black books, so he's eager to help me, and he tells me there's one in a nearby Dwemer ruin. Yay. Here it is, I can't wait for this fun Dwemer adventure. Naloth uses this puzzle cube thing to open the door, and in the floor, we see the black book that I'm after. I'm gonna cut out basically all this. I have to find these cubes and put them on pillars. The cubes power different things, and then they control the water levels around the ruins, so the whole area is just one big puzzle. And bam, I got the book. I open it up to see what chapter hentai this is, and I'm transported again into Tentacle Land. It's here I meet with the Daedric Prince, Hermaeus Mora. He tells me this place is called Apocrypha, a place where all knowledge is hoarded. He tells me I should read the black book again and leave, but that's boring, so I don't. This place is pretty cool at first, but honestly it kind of got old real quick. Moving corridors, flying papers, buttons, tentacle monsters. It's, you know. Anyway, I found another book. It's there that Hermaeus Mora teaches me the second word of Bend Will. I still need the last one, and he's willing to make a trade. Knowledge for knowledge. The Skull have secrets, and if I'm willing to convince them to give them up, I can get the last word of power. When I come back, Mirek sends a dragon to kill me. That's funny. Dragon. Kill me. That's cute. Anyway, I return to Storn and tell him about my deal with Hermaeus Mora, and he's not exactly pleased with the idea, but he says he'll speak to him himself and make sure he lives up to his end of the bargain. Now, I've definitely seen this hentai before. With his brain now mush, I have the third word of power to the Bend Will shout. Freya is sad about her dead dad. Then I read the black book again and return to Apocrypha. This time, I infiltrate Mirek's temple. I use the Bend Will shout on this dragon, then I finally get to do it. I get to ride a dragon. This is the thing. The big thing from this DLC, dragon riding. And it's by far the most underwhelming thing about this game. Holy, you don't get to control anything, it's slow, you press a button to target an enemy and the dragon will just kind of circle around it and attack it, dealing a pitiful amount of damage, honestly. It took way longer for this dragon to kill things that took me like 2 hits. Todd Howard, you have broken my heart, and I will never trust you again. Eventually, my dragon ride ends and I come face to face with Mirek. This fight was admittedly very easy, but everything is at this point in this run. I will say though, if I didn't have some of the best crafted gear possible at over level 100, it probably wouldn't have been. The fight was at least interesting. Mirek occasionally eats dragon souls to heal, and he uses several shouts, so it's actually a pretty fun fight, even with how easy it is. But eventually I defeat him, and Hermaeus Mora does a hentai thing to the ancient Dragonborn. This turns him into dust, and finishes the Dragonborn DLC. It was kinda short, but it was pretty good. About the same as Dawnguard, I'd say. And finally, I have finished Skyrim and its DLCs while picking up everything, with 48,741 weight in my inventory. Now it's time to try and drop it all at the throw of the world, but there's a little bit of prep I need to do first. The delay every time I open my inventory or use an item from my inventory, or drop it, has gotten so long there's no way I can sit there and drop one item every like 6 or 8 seconds or something. So I need to find a getaway to get my items out of my inventory and then drop them in sections. To do that, I need a follower. So I had to Whiterun to get Lydia, but it turns out I already have a follower. Oh yeah, Serna. But where is she? She got stuck in the mushroom house somehow, but I get her out. Then we head back to Whiterun together, and I buy a home, which I fully upgrade. Then I go to the chest inside the home and begin to deposit all my items. Once I deposited some items, I command Serena to take all the items in the chest. By doing this, I can get all the items in her inventory while ignoring her carry weight limit. And the more items I get out of my inventory, the less my inventory lags. This is how long the delay is at the end of the run, by the way. Every time I equip an item, drop an item, drink a potion, or just open my inventory, it's terrible. This is what I dealt with. But if Serena holds everything, I can just take everything in portions from her inventory and then drop them a lot faster without dealing with the inventory lag. Eventually, I load her up with 48,000 carry weight, and we head to the throat of the world. It's here I install the mod Sky UI, and that's because it allows me to set the minimum number of items needed to prompt the quantity menu when dropping or selling items. If I set the number to 0, it will never prompt me, so I can create a macro on my keyboard to drop items individually very quickly without having to deal with that menu. This is what that looks like. I start with all my food items, so here I go. Oh, also, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, and I'm going to use console commands to give myself the Cyclone Shout and Infinite Shout cooldown so that I can go crazy throwing the items around. So, that's about it for the video. Enjoy the footage in the background. You can see that my frames start getting pretty choppy the more items I drop on the ground. And there were a lot of weird bugs and physics issues the more I dropped, which you'll see. But I'll just be quiet until there's something I want to comment on. I don't know what happened here, really. I was quick saving frequently, and these items aren't actually here in this save file. This was after I shouted them away. My game crashed when I was dropping the next set of items. I dropped too many at one time, and when I reloaded, they were all just here, back, but they're not real. I can't touch them or anything. So I just reload an older save, and then they're gone. Next up, I'm going to do the rest of my food, and I'll start on the ingredients. Oh, game crashed. This happened a lot. Yeah, this became a big problem. You might not know this, but Skyrim, it doesn't run very well with lots of items on the ground everywhere. Up next is scrolls and books. And the books, I think, were the beginning of the end. They spawned inside each other a lot, creating crazy lag. Even when I blew them off the mountain, I started to get a lot more crashes after I dropped the books. You'll see the pages kind of get stuck, and they'll become like giant centipede books. Oh, yeah, this happened a lot, too. If you ran over a bunch of items on the ground, you would just kind of fly up in the air, or you would just go into the ground. And this was the first Giga crash. I could not load my save. It would load for like 15 minutes and then just crash again. I actually had to reload an older save before dropping any books and do it all over again. So here I am with all the ingredients on the ground again, and I gotta drop the books again. These are the book centipede monsters that I was talking about. They're just like stuck in each other's assholes. Next, I'm off to miscellaneous items. And this was another Giga crash. This one sucked. It took a while to get back into the game after this one. This one sucked. I thought it was over. This, I don't really have an explanation for what's happening right here. I just don't know what this is. It's upsetting to see. It's unnatural, and I don't like it, but I really don't know what was happening here. I lost some other footage, but it was also doing this in other places, too. I don't know what that is. At this point, I started looking around, and I noticed there were items just floating in the sky. Everywhere. And that is the Omega crash and the death of Skyrim and this run. I did it. I killed it. Todd Howard would be proud. I couldn't reload any save after this crash, by the way. Even going back to load my saves before I started dropping items. My game just would loop in a loading screen and then eventually crash. I actually just bricked the game, which is kind of disappointing because I didn't get to finish dropping everything. But I guess I won. I guess. So, can you beat Skyrim, all of its DLCs, and pick up every item, and then drop them at the throw of the world? No. No, you cannot. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, subscribe. Check out our Discord in the description. Leave a comment below for what challenge one you'd like to see next, and with that, I'll see you next time.